So these are the updates from government.
Okay.
Now, coming to the issue of the article, we've read, I think there's a statement we released yesterday as a government.
Which we read through on the
Yes,
program.
which I heard that you read through. I just wanted to make some clarifications with regards to that article. Now, the article made some statements, but one thing I can emphasize is that the article did not in any way indicate with evidence any wrongdoing on the part of government. That is clear. I'm waiting for anybody to pinpoint to me any part of that article which really, with evidence, has indicated any wrong on part of government. Now, let me just go through some of the statements there. It says all his assets, that is all Jammeh's assets, were forfeited to the state, which is true. He said, but the process of recovering this loot has been mired with alleged corruption, with officials of the current administration allegedly selling assets to friends, family, and themselves at prices only a fraction of their worth. This statement is false. There's no evidence to really back this. And that to the public, information about buyers of these assets, amounts at which they were sold, and the circumstances is left with speculation, which is also not true. It says so far only $23 million was recovered, which is over $1 billion, is over 1.2 billion. That is true. But not all assets are also sold. Some assets are kept for public use, some are kept for future generations, some are also kept currently used by the government. For example, the biggest hospital in Farad is one of those assets. Now, one thing that is also clear is that the sales agent that he mentioned, that Binta is a sales agent for Alpha Capital, is also false. The manner in which Alpha Capital disposing of the assets was very transparent through competitive bidding. They didn't need any sales agent. So he also said that his sources told him, Mustafa, that Binta was acting as sales agent for Alpha, which is also false. Now, the sales happened in two ways. One is the sales by the commission itself. The cows, the tractors, and the cars. It's for the commission now to tell us how that went. But nonetheless, government has done an audit, and NAO has done a comprehensive audit of these transactions, and very soon the audit report will be out. But that one is a separate transaction. The commission did the auction for the cows, the tractors, and the cars. Let the commission's head come and tell us how they did that. But
who's the commission's head?
It was Ami Bensouda who was there.
No, she was lead counsel.
Yes, but they were there with Surahata. But what I'm saying is that that is for the commission to now explain how they did those sales, the auctions and all that. What the government could vouch for is that the sale of the estates and the shares, which is done through the receiver, which is Alpha Capital, was a very transparent process. In a manner in which, in fact, the manner in which Alpha was appointed did not violate any law. There was a ministerial task force. After the white paper was published and gazetted, the task force instructed the then AG to appoint Alpha Capital as the receiver, and the manner in which the assets were sold were very transparent. It was advertised on the website. People sent their bids, and it was transparently open, and the winners were announced in a very transparent way. And through this process, over $1 billion was recovered. So for Mustafa to say that someone was acting as an agent is false. It's not true. There was no agent, and the process was very transparent. So these are the clarifications I want to do, that most of the allegations that Mustafa in fact made were allegations against the commission. That is, there was no transparency in the manner in which some of these loose assets were disposed of. We are waiting for the report. Very soon, the government will publish a comprehensive list of those who purchased the assets of Yahya Jammeh, but also the audit report, which is almost done, will also give us an idea as to the comprehensive nature of these transactions and how they went about in terms of the valuation. One thing I can also inform the public is that when it comes to the estates and the shares that were sold off by the receiver, in fact, the government made much more money than they were evaluated. They sold them above the valuation prices. So government did not. So the thinking that they were sold at a fraction of their valuation is not true, except perhaps for the cars and the cows and the tractors sold by the Jammeh Commission through auction. I'm not sure about that. But the ones that has been done by the receiver, most of the properties were sold above the valuation price.
So that's all about the Republic?
Yes, that is all about the Republic. Just to say the process was transparent. It followed due process. And the report of the Republic did not in any way evidence pinpoint any wrongdoing on the part of government. Most of the article talked about how some of the assets were disposed of in a manner which is not transparent, but those assets concerned the Janet Commission assets that were disposed of by the Janet Commission. That is, the cows, the tractors, and the cars.
And you had no problem, ministers at the time buying these assets.
But who said ministers bought assets there? There is no evidence to that. If we see the evidence, that is what the audit report will tell us that. We'll get the comprehensive report, then we will know who bought and who did not buy.
Are you asking me who said that ministers bought?
Yes.
Or
no, I'm not. I'm saying there's no evidence yet.
Okay.
To that effect, until and unless the report is out, a comprehensive report, we'll know exactly who bought and who did not buy. For now, all we hear is speculation. So X bought, X did not buy. We need to see a comprehensive report, and I think the audit report will help us with that. But government will also ensure that we publish the full report as to what happened. Gambians need to know what happened. I think government is transparent in this process. We have nothing to hide. We have no one to protect. And then we will make sure that we publish everything that the Gambians need to know surrounding the forfeiture of these assets and their subsequent sale.
So government will only believe a report generated by the National Audit Office, not from any journalist, including Mustafa Kedabo.
No, what I'm saying is that the National Audit Reports audit is more comprehensive. Mustafa Kedabo, some of the allegations he says sources say, for example, the relationship between Alpha Capital and Ba and former.
Yeah, he can't name his sources.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that, but I understand that.
Yeah.
But his report has flaws. Some of these statements are not true. For example, the fact that Binta was a sales agent for Alpha Capital is false, completely false. So I think that needs to be very clear. And also, his statement that the manner in which the estates were disposed of was not transparent is also false. There is ample evidence to suggest that the sales were very transparent in a manner that followed due process. It was advertised on news. It was advertised on the websites. There was a closed bidding process whereby a competitive one, whereby what you bid is not known to the others and is open publicly, and the winners were announced, and you are told to pay it in an account. In fact, nobody was receiving money. So that process was very flawless and transparent. Now, when it comes to the Janet Commission sales and auction, that one, we can wait for the report to come out and we know exactly what happened there. So I think that needs to be very clear.
So what if the National Audit Report comes out and corroborates what Mustafa Kedabo has published? Would you still continue to disbelieve the findings of the NAO, because just as you are disbelieving the report of Mustafa?
What I'm saying is that currently what we have as evidence. No, I understand your point.
Okay.
I'm not making statements for the transparency and the manner in which they were disposed of with the Janet Commission. I'm not vouching for that. I don't know what happened there. What I can speak with certainty is that this.
But he's told us, and you're saying you don't believe.
No. I'm saying what I didn't believe is the one concerning the sales by the receiver. We need to make this distinction.
Okay.
The sales by the Janet Commission. Mm-hmm. I'm not denying what he's saying because I don't have the evidence to that. Okay. I'm saying these are allegations he has made. The allegations against the receiver himself in terms of the agent and the manner in which it was. That's what I'm. Now
so you're speaking for the receiver, not what the Janet Commission did.
That is what we have
as you say.
For now,
it's either for their chairman or lead counsel or whatever to speak for themselves.
Exactly. But for the receiver that the government has appointed as the receiver to dispose of these assets, that one, some of these claims made are false. That one, I can with certainty say that there was no sales agent in this process, and the process was transparent, and it followed due process.
The good thing I find about the report is at least it has spurred you to action. Now government has said they will come out with the full list that has been demanded from even before the Janet Commission wrapped up. And government showed no interest, but now that this report has come out, suddenly, we are seeing action. That is positive.
My understanding is that government has submitted this list to the National Assembly.
Oh, it's in the National Assembly?
That is my understanding, yes. That is what I've been
so
told.
Why is the National Assembly not making
It's been submitted to the National Assembly, and a report was submitted to the National Assembly. But like you said, this is democracy, Peter. Actions sometimes lead to reactions. Yes. And democracy works like that. Even in other developed countries, sometimes the government will do an investigation into some issue and would not publish it until a journalist digs in and comes up, and then government is forced to publish it.
Whistleblower.
Huh?
Whistleblowing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is democracy. But one thing I can really assure, and I can speak with certitude, is that government has no interest in hiding the identity of those who bought these assets. We are not interested in protecting anyone, and we believe that...
Even if the president is involved?
No, I mean, he is not involved.
You know that for sure?
For sure.
Okay.
He's not involved. That is why we have made a commitment to publish the comprehensive.
And also the question is, even if he was involved, would there be publication of this list?
Well, what I'm saying, that's a hypothesis, and I don't like to comment on hypothesis. Even if he and the if makes it a hypothesis, I don't want to comment on that. What I can assure you is that government has no interest in hiding anything. This was a transparent process. It was done following due process, and we'll publish the report, a comprehensive report, and also the audit report, but also the names of those who purchased the assets.
Very good. And you were busy on Saturday, rubbing shoulders with journalists as you know, the world celebrate. Are you done with everything you came to?
Yes, I'm done, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Because I thought, you know, I had a mountain of paper, but just a lot of paper, but, you know, not much content.
No.
Yes, well done for joining the media fraternity on Saturday to celebrate another World Press Freedom Day. Of course, Gambia has a lot of reason to celebrate. Never mind.